Here's Hayward off a screen from Cantor. Flares it back to Ennis. Ennis puts on the floor, stripped by LeBron. Here comes LeBron, crossing over through the lane. Blocked from behind by Hayward. Gordon just did a LeBron to LeBron. Fast break. Hayward on the other side. He will terminate you one-on-one. Oh, it's worth legends of work right there from Gordon Hayward with a slam dunk. My, oh, my. Hayward turns the corner after being double-teamed, bounces to Booker. He takes it with two hands and rocks you like a hurricane. 82-79. Jazz are going to run Gordon Hayward off the double stagger here and see if he gets it. Alec bounces out to Trevor. Open three right side. Got it! What a play! Out of the inbound. Trevor Booker for three right side with 1.9 seconds on the shot clock. Jazz by 4. Seconds on the shot clock. Jazz by 4. Ingles fakes one inbound. Finds Hayward. He's got some room. He dribbles right. Steps back from 20 and hits! Gordon Hayward!
Hey,
and they mob him!
And I tell you what, Gail Miller, the owner of the team, is probably covering her head over there to make sure that
nobody can hear a word you said, Ron.
Well, I'll shut up then. And
Gordon Hayward!
And LeBron James loses 5 of his last 6 ball games here in Salt Lake City.
This is Gordon Hayward. We are ready to tip it off. Are you? Let's do this.
Thought we might as well relive that one more time, don't you? All right, let's relive it a lot more times. What a night that was. We get back at it today. Jazz and the Mavericks plus an NBA 5. Flying by the seat of our pants a little bit this morning. Hope you're well. It is tip-off. Bump. Pow. All right. Again, thanks to everybody who stopped by the other night. That was kind of just a festive atmosphere. A lot of you guys came by and said hi. Nice. I received a nice note as well. I really appreciate everyone kind of taking the moment. So thank you very much. It was funny. I was laughing with one guy about the fact that sometimes I go back and listen to this to see how it sounds. I'm like, God, I sound like I'm complaining. So today's one of those days where I'm complaining. I am wedging this baby in today. As much just because last night I had to prep and I couldn't get enough prep done for this, so I had to get it done this morning. So anyway, I'm on at 8. It's 7:40 right now if you're listening live. I'm on at 8 with DJ and PK. So we're wedging this in, and I didn't finish all the prep pieces. So some of them we're just going to do live. Like I've run the spreadsheets, but I didn't get to look at them. So one of the 2 things I wanted to look at today on the show was whether or not Moneyball's increasing or decreasing around the league in the opening week or so. So we'll do that. Jazz Mavericks tonight. Tickets are available. If you've never seen Dirk in person, I strongly suggest it. And we're not home again until November 18th. Funny how a day changes everything. I kind of think like we might win tonight. Right? Like when the season started, I looked at November and I thought we'd get 2 wins. We got them. Now I'm like, maybe we get tonight. We'll get tonight. I'm doing my prep. I'm like, hey, we get tonight. We got the same record as the Mavericks. It's like, okay, slow down. But you never know. All right, let's do the NBA 5.
This is Dante Exum, and you are Locked on Jazz.
Thank you, Dante. What's going on in the NBA 5? Well, Popovich did his thing last night where he sat his guys, so that Houston game turned out to be a whole lot of nothing. I run a spreadsheet that nobody kind of, I think, somewhat proprietary, not in the sense that nobody else could do it, just that nobody else does do it, about points per drives I look at rather than the it's a variation on the stats view numbers. And James Harden is unreal right now. Team points per drive, which to me is a much more important statistic. Team points per drive, James Harden is averaging 1.7 team points per drive right now. So every time he drives to the basket, they're getting 1.7 points. That means he is dishing, creating. A lot of it was against us. He's 0.74 personal points per drive. The other one that's really interesting around the league on this is personal points per drive. So this is you drive the basket and you score. The leader in the NBA right now is Chris Bosh. And if you think about it, he really does have a unique skill that at his size, playing center, he can cross over, put it on the floor, and take you to the rack. He's at 1.4 personal points per drive. That's one of the highest in the league. Gordon Hayward is sitting at about 7th in that category. Thaddeus Young, Rudy Gay, Leandro Barbosa, Aaron Aflalo, Rodney Stuckey, Klay Thompson, and Gordon Hayward. Hayward up at 1.03 points per drive. Those are the only guys in the league averaging over a point per drive, and Chris Bosh leads that at 1.4. The guy who is leading the league in team points per drive is Aaron Aflalo. He's only driven 10 times compared to Harden's 38, so it's a little misleading, but his team's getting about 2 points per drive right now on all that. So you take it. James Johnson of Toronto, limited drives is pretty good, and I mentioned Bosh already in there. Chandler Parsons, who the Jazz face tonight, is 6th best in the NBA in personal or team points per drive. So keep an eye on that. That was actually before last night's game on that data end of things. C.J. McCollum had a nice night for Portland. I've said this a million times. I think the Western Conference is going to play out based on bench. You know, the stars are enormous in this league, whether it's San Antonio's big 3, the Clippers 2, the Rockets 2, Oklahoma City's injured 2, Memphis with, Marc Gasol. The stars are tremendous. The depth, I think, is going to separate these teams. Golden State's bench play is just simply better than anyone else's. They're going to have Andre Iguodala and David Lee coming off the bench again in their next game. Really? They're both all-stars in the Eastern Conference. They're bench players. They're not bench players. They're just coming off the bench. It's incredible. Portland's bench is a real problem for them, and then last night they got C.J. McCollum to step up. That's the guy that's the key for them. Steve Blake's not going to be able to carry it for the whole year. McCollum had done very little. He's absolutely the key for everything involving the Blazers. Speaking of bench, Thiago Splitter out again with a calf injury, having it reevaluated. He's pretty vital to the success of the San Antonio Spurs, so keep an eye on that and how that's going. Last night we saw Kyle Anderson slow-mo for the first time. He went 1 for 8 with 8 rebounds and 4 assists. He's an interesting player that there were a lot of intrigue around when it came to draft time and what was going to take place with him. All right, we're now flying by the seat of our pants for a little bit. I've run the data and I haven't looked at the numbers. What I want to look at is what percentage of shots are being taken right now. That's interesting. What percentage of shots are being taken right now from various different areas on the floor rather than compared to last year? So shots at the rim, 32.5% of all shots are being taken, and I don't know the answer to these numbers, by the way. We're all finding them here for the first time. 32.5% of shots are being taken in the restricted area. Last year was 32.8, so virtually the exact same. How about the mid-range 2? 26% of shots right now are the mid-range 2. Last year, 28.3. So the long 2 disappearing a little bit, even more than it already has, and that's been a trend each and every year. Corner 3, and this will get taken away as the season goes on, but right now it's 6.7% of the shots. Last year, 6.7% of shots. There may be a certain point where that's all you can get. And above the break 3s, 19.4% of all shots are above the break 3s this year. Last year they were 17.4% of the shots. So pretty interesting there that we are getting a decrease in mid-range 2s and an increase in the amount of shots that are taken from the above the break 3. Now, what's interesting on that is that there is not a increase. Overall increase is almost non-existent. The overall increase from last year, smart shots, restricted area, and 3s is at 58.7. Last year was at 58.5% of all shots. So we're seeing in the early going, the only trend right now that I just found as we did this together is that there are less mid-range 2s and a little bit more above the break 3s. Mid-range 2s average 0.79 points per shot, and above the break 3s 1.05. Now, I will come back to this in a minute on this chart, and I haven't finished it, but the Jazz have changed position dramatically, and we will touch on that when we dig into the Utah Jazz, and we do that next.
Hey, this is Gordon Hayward. I want to hear from you. Call 801-200-3738 and ask me a question. That's 801-200-3738 to ask me a question.
Thank you very much, Gordon Hayward, and you can use that interaction line along the way. By the way, great day yesterday over at the VA Medical Center when we did a NBA Cares event. The players came by. Dennis Lindsay was there. Some of the coaches' families were there as well, helping out. and then met some great military members. Gosh, it's just, I mean, I'm blown away by these people. They obviously protect our country, and it's, unfortunately, I think sometimes these comments are cliched, and I hope that they don't fall on, you've heard it so many times. I mean, I'm talking to this guy who's been in, spent a year in Afghanistan, 6 months in Iraq. It's like, okay, like, I don't even know what to say, right? Like, okay, you're stronger, you're better, you're amazing, you're incredible, thank you. He says it needs to be done. Like, wow, like that's awesome. I can't, wow, I love the fact you have that faith to believe that, and that you don't feel jilted or, there's some argument of like whether these have been successful, right? Like, I mean, I don't even get into politics right now, but is Iraq better than right now? It sure doesn't feel like it, with ISIS. Is Afghanistan? I don't know. Like, now would have they been worse? I don't know, but it's certainly up for debate. And here you got a guy who says need to be done. Like, you're awesome. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate you. So it was really, and this guy Holcomb was just hysterically funny. So had a great time with the military members, just doing a little bit of work. They did most. Come on, like at one point they're like, I need the strongest. I'm like, okay, how many military people here? And they're like 55. I'm like, okay, well then I'm like, I'm somewhere in the range of 65th strongest person here, and there's only like another 12 people, because those 55 are all stronger than me. So I'll move the mulch bag. You break up the bricks because like I can't. I'm not strong enough to do that. All right. Anyway, do you guys realize that Quinn Snyder's offense is right now through 5 games with our shooting guard shooting 30 some odd percent, is the number 2 offense in the NBA. Okay, I know that the focus is to fix the defense, and the defense is not fixed right now. But this guy is, supposedly borderline offensive genius is kind of or borderline basketball genius is what we've been told. We'll see how long this lasts, but we're averaging 110 points per 100 possessions right now. With our point guard shooting 33%, playing 3 rookies on our second team. We haven't played defensive juggernauts in Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, the Clippers, and Cleveland, but still played good teams. We haven't played, we haven't played the worst defensive teams of last year. I think that's probably worth noting, right? So really incredible to me. Blows my mind a little bit. Dallas is the number 1 offense in the NBA, and we're the number 2 offense in the NBA right now. And if you go look at it, and you go say for a second, well, it's early. Okay, well, who else is in that group? Well, Dallas is 1, and the Raptors are 3, and Houston is 4, and Brooklyn is 5, and Miami is 6, and Golden State is 7, and Portland is 8. The surprise is Chicago is 9, and to Boston's credit, they're 10th. Okay, some of these teams are going to fall out, but if you suddenly go look at last year, and I can't do time frame, similar time frame. Actually, I probably could. That's kind of an interesting concept. I wonder if I could. I could do that. All right, if we just let me just do it quickly because I hadn't thought of it. But if we just go look at November last year of the best offenses in the NBA, and last year the best offenses were the Clippers, the Heat, the Mavericks, the Rockets. Who were the best offenses? The Heat, the Rockets, the Clippers, the Blazers. The Pelicans were 5th. Dallas was 6th. Denver. So, I mean, we're not all the way through November. I just grabbed November quickly. But if you look at last year's best, these are the best offenses. Like the teams that start this way hold themselves to be the best offenses out there. It's pretty impressive. There's something to it. Whether it's the way Gordon's playing out of his head or whether it's the use of space and playing with a pass or playing with a purpose and what Derek's doing. Quinn Snyder has got this team as the 2nd best offensive team in the NBA right now. It's a heck of a matchup tonight. It's the number 1 offense and number 29 defense in Dallas against the number 2 offense and number 28 defense. There's also some other interesting things in this matchup. They are a terrible defensive rebounding team, 30th in the NBA, and we're the 2nd best offensive rebounding team. So that could make things awfully interesting. But this is, let's see how long this lasts. The whole mantra and everything we've been told from the front office and everything is that it's going to take the offense some time. I've told you this numerous times. We're going to have nights in which, things go disastrously awry. We score 74 points. We commit 20-plus turnovers. We're the number 2 offense in the NBA. everything we've been told, everything Quinn's told me to expect, everything Dennis has told me to expect, everything that I've listened to Dennis say to Spence and Gordon has been, we are going to be way behind, and we're going to have some really bad offensive nights. Okay, we're only 5 games in the season, but through those 5, we're the number 2 offensive team in the NBA. To me, that's stunning. Here's one of the reasons. Let's go back over to this little graphy graph over here. Maybe I'll give you a screen share on this. And if you're listening on audio, don't worry. I think this will be very easy for you to follow. And I actually think on the screen share it'll be almost impossible because it's such a massive spreadsheet. But let's go to offensive shot locations for the Utah Jazz this year. And what are we going to find out? Let's take our first little quick thing, and I'm doing this together, though I have some idea, is here's the percentage of smart shots taken by teams in the NBA so far this year. And Houston is always number 1 on this, and they're 6-0, by the way, I would point out. At 76% of Houston shots are good shots. Philadelphia, under Brent Brown and a terrible team, is at 70%. The New Orleans Pelicans are at 69.5%, and the reason for that, by the way, is the Pelicans are taking an amazing 47.6% of their shots in the restricted area with Anthony Davis on the The Jazz are taking the fourth smartest set of shots in the NBA. We're not shooting them all well, and that's the other one. It's like we're one of the worst above the break 3-point shooting teams in the league. We're at 30% on our above the break 3, but 68% of our shots. By the way, the above the break 3 at 30% is a 0.9 points per shot. It's still better than any mid-range shot. We are taking 68% of our shots in good areas, restricted area or threes. If we continue to play around and do some searches here, what you'll see with the Jazz is they have eliminated largely the long-range 2 from their repertoire. So if we go to right here, the Knicks are taking 43% of their shots from mid-range 2. The Lakers at 39, Minnesota at 39, Washington at 35, and Charlotte at 33. That's a bad idea, by the way. If you're new to this and you don't know the concept of this is right down here for you. A shot at the rim is worth 1.19 points per shot right now. The mid-range, this is the shot everyone talks about, and commentators do this all the time. The floater in the lane by the point guard, oh my God, shoot me twice. Kick it out to the wing for a 3. It's a terrible shot. And everyone, oh, he added this to his game. It's great. All the time, oh my gosh, it's just terrible. That's 0.78 points per shot. The mid-range 2 is 0.79 points per shot. The corner 3 is 1.17. Literally a shot in the restricted area and the corner 3 are almost the same value. And the above the break 3 is 1.05 points per 3. So these are the good shots, and and they're not all equal. But so the mid-range 2, the Jazz are taking the 3rd fewest mid-range 2s in the NBA right now at 17.5% of their shots are mid-range 2s. If they probably could reduce some of the non-paint or non-restricted area paint 2s. They're up at 14.8% right now on that, and they'll figure that out at some point. But they've gotten rid of the mid-range 2, and they're taking a lot of above-the-break 3s. The thing I like to look at is a stat that is, and this gets even a level deeper, expected points per shot. So in other words, if everybody shot the league average and took 100 shots, and this is actually, I should build this number. If you took the league average, and everyone took 100 shots, then, in fact, I'm going to change it as we speak. Then the Rockets are averaging 104.5 points per shot. The expected points per 100 shots. I like this number better. I think it makes more sense to you as a listener. Tell me if it does not. So your expected point per shot rating. We'll have to come up with your EPS, expected point per shot, EPPS. The Rockets for 100 shots is at 104.8, 105. The Pelicans are at 104.1. The 76ers at 103, and the Jazz are at 102.2. So the Jazz are the fourth best kind of, if everyone just shot average, they would score 2 more points than the league average. The league average is Golden State at 99.6. So the Jazz are getting a 3-point advantage or 2.5-point advantage from the league average team just based on where they're taking their shots right now. That's a big deal. 2 points is 5 wins over the course of the season. Contrast it to where the Knicks and the Lakers and the Timberwolves and the Wizards are, and take these guys at 95 and the Jazz at 102. That's 7 points per 100 shots. The average game, by the way, is 80 shots. So 100 shots is not, that last number I gave you of 2 points per game. It's a little off because that's actually not a fair number, because the 100 shots is more than an average game. So it's a little high. I'd probably have to fiddle with that a little bit. But it's an interesting thing. And we're actually shooting, our expected points should be 414, and we have 423. So we're a little above. If you look over here at the 76ers should have 371 expected points. They only have 312. They're awful, right? Their offense efficiency to where they're shooting from is way down. Denver's the same thing at some point, and so is Detroit. At some point, it's all nice to take good shots. You got to make them and put them in the right spots along the way. And that's actually how I sometimes will tell what the best shooting teams in the league are. But if you look at that, that really tells you how good this offense is, just fundamentally built. And that's, it makes you begin to think some of this is a believable concept. All right, let's see what we have, if we have any questions today. And we've got about a minute and a half before I get a phone call here. Let's from Forrest Scott. What is this isn't a slight to Craig or Matt, but do you want to do TV? No. TV, I have no interest. No interest. First of all, Craig is great. Craig's so much better than I am. It's stunning. He's such a great broadcaster. I'm a basketball geek. He's a broadcaster. Give him great credit for who he is as a broadcaster with all the national stuff he does. Don't underestimate how lucky we are to have Craig and what he does and how terrific he is. And the other one, I think that I don't think there's any reason you should know this. I'm just going to tell you, the crew that works behind the scenes on Jazz TV is amazing. Travis Henderson, Joe Kruger, Scott Rogers, and then there's just I could list, there's Jeremy and there's Ryan and there's Jerry Carter, our photographer, and then there's all these guys that work in the truck, and that's really one of the Jazz local broadcast is often recognized by the NBA as one of the best broadcasts in the league, and they do incredible work. Incredible work. By the way, Phil Johnson will be with me because I think it's Steve Brown and Ron Boone tonight. I remember you saying Dante was the pendulum player in the draft. Many analysts agree with you. Now, having seen Dante a decent amount, where do you land on that pendulum swing? I'm trying to keep under control, Aaron, on Dante for the fairness of Dante. I'm pretty pleased. But I think that I think we should be careful and be nice to him and not put any undue pressure on him and let him be 19. But his improvement from 1 week to the next is at a rate higher than what I expected. But I also want to make sure that when he hits the wall and falls apart this year, and his improvement drops from 1 week to the next, we don't turn around and flip this narrative. I really think this year is about building a base and a foundation behind the scenes as much as it is on the floor. He's got to get, this is an interesting way that I've heard the Jazz phrase some things. He's got to get to base level strength for his position before you can really start to evaluate everything. It's a really good point. There's a base level strength that every player has to play their position in the league, and he doesn't have it yet. And so he's got to get to that base level strength. And then we can start to evaluate. But that might take 2 years. And then, then you get base level strength, then you add some skills, then you put it together, then woo-hoo, baby, hopefully. Then you got something special. Bill Bloggett, I love the advanced stats you provide. There are a lot of them. What do you think are the top 5 most important advanced stats for a track on the Jazz right now? Good question. I don't have that right now. I think this last one I just did is pretty important. Where we're taking shots from, it just shows a real change. We're taking 67% of our shots in good locations this year. Last year we took 52% of our shots in good locations. That's that expected point thing I just did is that points per shot is brand new, so I'd have to build it into I haven't built it into that spreadsheet. It isn't on my 12-13 numbers, but that's a pretty considerable. I think that one's pretty important. Last year we took 28.3% of our shots from. Let me look at this. We're taking 17.5% of our shots from mid-range. Last year we took 31.3% of our shots from mid-range. It's just really basic math. All right, I got to go do DJ and PK. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it very much. I didn't give you 5. I think that one's it. Effective field goal percentage. We got to play better defensively. We're not very good defensively right now. But we're also playing the best offensive teams in the league. I want to see how we are defensively after we finish Detroit, Indiana, New York. Those are 3 of the worst offensive teams, and we get 3 of the next 5 games on the road. They go score on us, we got a problem. They don't score on us, then maybe things are heading the right direction. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.